Yeah, they have to. We just appointed this secretary of
Ashley, good to see you. How are you?
Hi, I'm here today to support the students of the University of Vermont who are exercising their right to free speech, which is so extremely important in our society. And I'm here to protest that the University of Vermont and the U.S. government in general is suppressing our right to free speech, particularly against students and against immigrants. And we cannot be fooled. They are on the front line, but this is an attack against all of us. We will not remain silent in light of the most public genocide in history, and we will not stop until the genocide stops. Thank you.
I'm here today because it's just super unfair and not good that someone like Mahmoud has been detained, especially when he's, a permanent resident and just was using his freedom of speech to protest against what's going on in Palestine with the genocide. And it just feels like an invasion of power and an invasion of his rights. So I don't think that's fair at all, and we need to fight back about that because more deportations like this could happen in the future.
My name is Yvonne Bospine with the Party for Socialism and Liberation. We're here with SJP and a number of other groups who are here to protest against imperialism, specifically the kidnapping and illegal detention of Mahmoud Khalil, who was taken away from Colombia for merely speaking his First Amendment rights and taken to Louisiana to be put into brutal conditions, as well as the reignition of the genocide by Israel onto the Gaza Strip as of 2 days ago. Following a 2-week period of starvation, Israel has illegally re-entered its bombing campaign to destroy and eliminate Palestinians forever. We will not allow this. We stand strong with the people of Palestine. We stand strong with the resistance around the world. We as the working class people of this country and the students of this country refuse to let our rights be taken away and refuse to let Palestinian rights be taken away.
In a more favorable jurisdiction in terms of guaranteeing his rights, and when we organize, we ensure that we have each other's back. Alright? Free Mahmoud Khalil! Free Mahmoud Khalil! Free Mahmoud Khalil! Free Mahmoud Khalil!
Love you.
Free Mahmoud Khalil! Free Mahmoud Khalil! Free Mahmoud Khalil! Welcome everybody, my name is Joe and I'm with Students for Justice in Palestine. This is our first major rally since the end of the encampment protests in 2024. And we are back at a critical moment in time, a moment when all of us are under threat. We are here today with you because we all recognize the crisis that we are in at this moment. We recognize the crisis of genocide in Palestine. We recognize the crisis of fascism threatening to take over this country and the crisis of complicity right here at UVM.
Where is the police?
And we are here today because we know, we see, and we feel now more than ever that we have to fight back.
You're going to be arrested.
In the past 3 days, the Zionist state of Israel has murdered over 700 people with our tax dollars. 3 days ago, in the span of just a couple hours, they butchered 174 children in their sleep. They slaughtered entire families who are gone forever, and they did this with weapons made in this country. They broke the ceasefire after violating it for weeks and killing over 100 Palestinians. And with the full support and participation of the United States, they are returning to their campaign of all-out genocide that has killed hundreds of thousands of people in Gaza. This is a genocide that has destroyed 90% of homes in Gaza. A genocide that has attacked hospitals, schools, aid tents, infrastructure, anywhere designed to sustain life. And we are faced again, once again, with video after video of children who have been killed by bombs that are made right here in this country. And that's why we chant, free, free Palestine! going on for 78 years. This is a project of Western imperialism that is aimed at exterminating an entire civilization, culture, and people. And it must be resisted with the same urgency that the world resisted the Nazi Holocaust with. And we as Americans are living in the center of this death machine. And we must never let anyone tell us that this is an over there issue. We must never let anyone tell us that we have no connection to it. We have no responsibility. We have every responsibility. Because every bomb, missile, every warplane, 70% of the occupation's weapons comes from the United States. This is money that could be used to feed people, money that could be used to turn our universities into real places of education, not tools of collaboration for fascism and imperialism. And that's why we chant money for jobs and education, not for ICE and deportation. Money for jobs and education, not for ICE and deportation. Money for jobs and education, not for ICE and deportation.
To assembly and to protest.
That's right.
And I have to say that I never imagined that we would need to be out here now protesting for the very right to protest. This is something that we have always assumed to be the bedrock of what it is to live in this country. And that's why I'm here, and that's why we're all here today, to make sure that the rest of our democratic rights are not shredded. Because let's face it, we're living at a very frightening time. We're living at a time of attacks, the like of which we could never have foreseen even simply years ago. And for me, the most important thing is that we are standing here united.
That's right.
And I want to say that even though it is a very frightening time, and the forces of reaction have a lot of power and a lot of confidence, they do not have a popular mandate. They are deeply unpopular. We have the majority. And we are on the right side of history. So I want to leave you with two of the most important slogans from the labor movement. And I was one of the people who founded United Academics. And we did it in the name of justice and equality. And the two slogans I want to end with are one. An injury to one is an injury to all.
That's right.
We have to live by this. That means every time they come after a trans athlete, we are all trans athletes.
That's right.
Whenever they come after an undocumented migrant, we are all undocumented migrants. And whenever they come after a Palestine solidarity activist, we are all Palestine solidarity activists. The second slogan from the labor movement that I want to leave you with is, the union makes us strong.
That's right.
The principle there is, alone we are weak. There is very little we can do as individuals on our own. We are vulnerable on our own. But together with others in collections of people, we are strong. And that's the strength that we need to work on today. And that means you have to join, if not a union, if that's not available to you, an organization, a collective, so that you can work with others together, that we can build our strength to defend against this attack, and also to continue to build for what we believe in, for a better world. So to that end, I want to say this is not the last action that we will be taking. I want to encourage everybody to get involved, to join the groups who are here today, and to look out for April 17th, which has been called by the American Association of University Professors and many other groups as a day of national action for higher education. There will be rallies, there will be workshops, there will be teach-ins, there will be many other actions to defend this precious institution that we so value and that we are all part of. So look out for that and stay united and stay strong. Solidarity.
Who's got the power?
We got the power.
What kind of power?
Union power.
Who's got the power?
We got the power.
What kind of power?
Union power.
Who's got the power?
We got the power.
What kind of power?
Union power.
I'm hearing union power, I'm hearing people power, I'm hearing student power. We have all the power. If we organize. If you are not organized, you are powerless. And we have to understand this. We cannot, again, defeat fascism in collaboration by shouting insults and by rallying. We have to take up organization and build ourselves in formation that are capable of challenging fascist power and taking political agency. And we have to understand the unique role that we have as students. Because it's not just that students have been at the forefront of civil rights protests in this country and anti-war movements in this country. Right now, in this country, we are now faced with, across the country, university administrations who are signaling their readiness to capitulate to the far right and their agenda. The arrest of Mahmoud Khalil was done through the full complicity and capitulation of Columbia University. And not only that, Columbia University fired the president of their student union for his participation in pro-Palestine protests. And we have to understand this is not the case of a few bad apples. This is a systematic rot that has infected our universities. And the only way to fight it, the only way to fight these capitulating, complicit bureaucrats is through organization from below. So we have pamphlets going around the crowd. We, SJP, say, come to our general body meeting tonight at 6:30 in Lafayette 107. But if you're not a student, we need you to continue to get involved in other ways. Join your union. Join your Palestine Solidarity Caucus. Join any organization that enables you to fight this more effectively. With that, I want to introduce Max from Graduate Students United Palestine Solidarity Caucus.
Hi folks, thank you so much for coming out today, standing in solidarity, because this is not just about Palestine. And again, my name's Max Schindler, History Department, Grad Student Union, but I'm also here as an Israeli citizen, someone who worked for Israeli journalism, and I'm asking each and every one of you here, we have friends and family to chat with, to persuade, to radicalize. We know people and loved ones in our lives who may not agree with us, and I ask when we leave this rally today, we talk to them, we reach out to them, and the folks on the steps and the students walking by, maybe you don't agree with us, and that's okay, but I'm asking you to look at the news, look at this Trump administration gutting hundreds of $millions in science funding, imperiling the university, and even if you don't agree with us, they're coming after campus activism, they're coming after labor organizing. I ask of you, please stand in solidarity with us on this mission, and that is what Graduate Student Union organizing is all about. We are strong together as we negotiate our first contract. I ask, stand with us, because labor solidarity, solidarity with Palestine, solidarity with migrant workers is one and the same. Thank you so much, and solidarity.
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
Long live Palestine!
Long live Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
This is a genocide in Palestine that affects every aspect of our life here in this country. From migrant deportations, to the gutting of higher education, to why we don't have health care, to why we can't get a living wage, to everything that affects us in this country. It can be tied back to the murder of children abroad, paid for with our tax dollars. This is a genocide that is perversely being committed in the name of Jewish people. And we know that this is wrong. And we say to our Jewish brothers and sisters, you have the power to make this stop. We have been living in a time where Zionist soldiers carved Jewish symbols into the skin of Palestinian prisoners, where the occupation's murderous troops used the Star of David and menorah as symbols of conquest and murder. And every single crime committed by the Zionist project, the shooting of little children in the head, the bombing of hospitals and schools, the mass torture and rape of prisoners, the pogroms in the West Bank, the humiliation and dispossession and genocide of an entire people for 78 years straight is done in the name of Jewish people. And now, as this violence comes home to this country, we are entering a time where the American fascists use Hebrew phrases to gloat about their fascist repression and kidnapping of Palestinian organizers. And we say to our Jewish brothers and sisters, you cannot accept this.
That's right.
You have the power to stand up. To stand up in your families, in your communities, in your synagogues, in your Hillel, and say, I will not accept this.
That's right.
And I will not allow you to do this in my name. And you must do more than say it. You must prove it through your actions and your organization. We say to our Jewish siblings, you have the power and you have the responsibility. And you have the responsibility not just to the Palestinian people, not just to the children killed in your name. You have a responsibility to yourself. Because if you continue to allow yourself and your identity to be used as a weapon for genocide, what you are doing is slowly allowing them to kill you as well. I want to now introduce Wafiq Fawar, the community activist from the Vermont Coalition for Palestinian Liberation, here from our community in solidarity with our campus front.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
Free Mahmoud Khalil now.
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 UBM, we are back and we are not afraid.
That's right.
Here with me, be patient. From Mahmoud Darwish, our poet, to Mahmoud Khalil. من آخر السجن طارت كف أشعاري تشد أيديكم ريحا على ناري. أنا هنا وراء السور الشاري تطوع الجبل المغرور الشاري. مذ جئت أدفع مهر الحرب ما ارتفعت غير النجوم على أسلاك أسواري. أقول للمحكم الأصفاد حول يدي هذه أساور أشعاري وأسراري. في حشد مجدكم نعلي وقيد يدي في طول عمركم المجدول بالعار. أقول للناس للأحباب نحن هنا أسرى محبتكم في الموكب الساري. في اليوم أكبر عاما في هوى وطني فعانقون عناق الريح للنار. From the confines of a prison fires, from the confines of a prison fires, the first of my poems to strengthen your hands like wind does to fire. I am here and beyond the wall my trees, they lofty mountains. Since came to pay to the letter of dowry only. Since I came to pay the letters dowry, only the stars have risen on my barbed wire. I tell the ones who have placed the manacles about my wrist, these are the bracelets of my poems and my determination. The measures of your glory are the soles of my shoes and the chains on my hand. Through the length of your life called with shame, I tell the people, the loved ones, we are here, captive of your love in the advancing procession. In a day I grow here in love of my country. So embrace me like the wind embraces the fire. I don't want to talk much. I want to say straightforward, I'm afraid for my students, but I am now not afraid because the community members showed up when the students need them.
That's right.
Here we are living a critical moment. While the Palestinians are facing genocide, occupation, and total apartheid, I see this institution, UVM, supporting genocide and occupation through investment. At the same time, they are writing new laws similar to Israeli apartheid laws. There are laws in this institution, one for the Palestinian solidarity students,
right,
and one for the rest of the students.
That's right.
This is an apartheid.
That's right.
For that, I wish the students of this institution to fight apartheid here at school.
That's right.
I ask all the clubs to protect our students. I ask all these clubs here and organizations and unions, and I will tell them that the Palestinians, Arab, Muslim students are in danger.
That's
we
right.
saw the example of Mahmoud, and we are all Mahmoud.
That's right. Yeah.
If you think they came after the migrants, where were you?
That's right.
They came after the trans, where were you? They came after the Palestinians, where are you? You're going to remember that. While they are changing the laws and putting that the definition of anti-Semitism under what's so-called IHRA, we are all in danger.
That's right.
First Amendment's gone. America is trembling over the First Amendment. This is the last hope we have. So don't be scared. Don't be afraid. Stand with us. Support our migrants. Support our students. Support Palestine. Support Mahmoud Khalil. Free Mahmoud! Free Mahmoud!
Now!
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 And we have to understand that Mahmoud Khalil's arrest is not the first, and it is not the first example of repression against the Palestine solidarity movement in this country, and it did not come out of nowhere. The precedent for Mahmoud's kidnapping was set for decades in this country through mass deportations under every presidential administration, Democrat and Republican, for the previous few decades. We have to understand that everything that threatens us today intersects at Mahmoud Khalil, and we must not essentialize Mahmoud's case into one individual. Mahmoud Khalil was arrested for the crime of standing in solidarity with an oppressed people. But he is not the first. He is not the first to be arrested and disappeared and attempted deported for not having committed a crime. We cannot forget our immigrant communities all around this country who have been facing mass deportations for decades under Obama, under Trump, under Biden, under all the leadership of this country. And when we fight for Mahmoud Khalil, we have to fight for our immigrant communities everywhere. And with that, I want to introduce a speaker from Migrant Justice to deliver a statement. Everyone give it up for Migrant Justice.
Share a statement for Migrant Justice organizer Enrique, translated from Spanish into English today. Hello everyone, my name is Enrique Balcazar. I'm a member and a leader of Migrant Justice. Our community, our migrant community, which does a lot of the most difficult jobs here, things like milking cows, constructing buildings, and cooking in restaurants. We have lived beneath the shadows, dispossessed of our rights from day one upon arriving to this country. We are made to live in fear of being deported while our labor is exploited. We are the playing chips in the political campaigns, and today Trump is trying to deliver on abhorrent and horrific plans that don't respect our humanity. Despite this fear, our community has been brave in defending ourselves against these violent and racist attacks. We have organized to change reality so that the human rights of our community here in Vermont are respected. And for this organizing, the struggle in which we find ourselves, we have faced persecution from immigration agents. In the same way as Mahmoud Khalil and all the immigrant students who are fighting against the genocide in Gaza, ICE has used the threat of deportation and detention to keep us silent. In 2017, when Trump took office for the first time, we were organizing and calling on the ice cream company Ben & Jerry's to sign on to our Milk with Dignity program in order to hold dairy companies and supermarkets responsible for human rights abuses that workers were facing in many dairy farms in Vermont. I was a leader and a spokesperson for this campaign, and in 2017, ICE watched, followed, and infiltrated Migrant Justice. They arrested various leaders and members of the organization with the intention of silencing us. Yes, this happened right here in our home in Vermont. I, Enrique Balcazar, was one of the leaders who was targeted. I went through what Mahmoud Khalil is going through today.
That's right.
ICE followed me, watched me for almost 2 weeks before arresting me in the street in Burlington with 3 undercover ICE cars, together with another migrant justice leader named Zuli Palacios. I spent almost 2 weeks in detention where I was about to be deported, but thanks to the brave and powerful solidarity of the community, Zuli and I won back our freedom. We fought our case to stay in this country and continue to organize and denounced ICE's abuse of power. It was a long fight, but we won. And we are going to win the freedom of Mahmoud Khalil. What happened to him and what happened to me is an example of abuse of power. It is political persecution, and that is a violation of our civil and our human rights. That is why we are not going to stop demanding freedom for Mahmoud Khalil. He must be returned to his family and to his community. We demand that this government respect the constitutional right of freedom of expression. Free Mahmoud Khalil now!
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 Free Mahmoud Khalil now! strength of Mahmoud and the strength of Enrique and the strength of all political dissidents who have been persecuted for speaking out and fighting back. And we have to understand that if we surrender, if we cower, if we let ourselves be cowed in fear, out of the fear that the same thing will happen to us, we are selling them out. We have to fight back. And that is exactly what Mahmoud Khalil has been telling us right from prison. I want to read a letter from Mahmoud Khalil dictated over the phone as he sits in Chino, Louisiana, in an ICE prison, notorious for its abuses.
He was moved to Jersey.
He was moved to Jersey. But this was dictated while he was still in Chino, Louisiana. And since this was dictated, people have continued speaking out and fighting and creating the pressure that has gotten him moved and that is going to win him his freedom. And he stresses in this letter that we must keep fighting, we must keep organizing, and we stand at the forefront of justice. My name is Mahmoud Khalil, and I am a political prisoner.
That's right.
I am writing to you from a detention facility in Louisiana, where I wake to cold mornings and spend long days bearing witness to the quiet injustices underway against a great many people precluded from the protections of the law. Who has the right to have rights? It is certainly not the humans crowded into the cells here. It isn't the Senegalese man I met who has been deprived of his liberty for a year, his legal situation in limbo, and his family an ocean away. It isn't the 21-year-old detainee I met who stepped foot in this country at age 9, only to be deported without so much as a hearing. Justice escapes the contours of this nation's immigration facilities. On March 8th, I was taken by DHS agents who refused to provide a warrant, accosted my wife and me as we returned from dinner. By now, the footage of that night has been made public. Before I knew what was happening, agents handcuffed me and forced me into an unmarked car. At that moment, my only concern was for Noor's safety. I had no idea if she would be taken too, since the agents had threatened to arrest her for not leaving my side. DHS would not tell me anything for hours. I did not know the cause of my arrest or if I was facing immediate deportation. At 26 Federal Plaza, I slept on the cold floor. In the early mornings, agents transported me to another facility in Elizabeth, New Jersey. There I slept on the ground and was refused a blanket despite my request. My arrest was a direct consequence of exercising my right to free speech as I advocated for a free Palestine and an end to the genocide in Gaza.
That's right.
Which resumed in full force Monday night. With January's ceasefire now broken, parents in Gaza are once again cradling two small shrouds, and families are forced to away starvation and displacement against bombs. It is our moral imperative to persist in the struggle for their complete freedom.
That's right.
I was born in a Palestinian refugee camp in Syria to a family which has been displaced from their land since the 1948 Nakba. I spent my youth in proximity to, yet distant from, my homeland. But being Palestinian is an experience that transcends borders. I see in my circumstances similarities to Israel's use of administrative detention, imprisonment without trial or charge, to strip Palestinians of their rights.
That's right.
I think of our friend Omar Khatib, who was incarcerated without charge or trial by Israel as he returned home from travel. I think of Gaza hospital director and pediatrician, Dr. Hassam Abu Safia, who was taken captive by the Israeli military on December 27th and remains in an Israeli torture camp today. For Palestinians, imprisonment without due process is commonplace. I have always believed that my duty is not only to liberate myself from the oppressor, but also to liberate my oppressors from their hatred and fear. My unjust detention is indicative of the anti-Palestinian racism that both Biden and Trump administrations have demonstrated over the past 16 months.
That's right.
As the U.S. continued to supply Israel with weapons to kill Palestinians and prevented international intervention. For decades, anti-Palestinian racism has driven efforts to expand U.S. laws and practices that are used to violently repress Palestinians, Arab Americans, and all communities. That is precisely why I am being targeted. While I await legal decisions that hold the futures of my wife and child in the balance, those who enabled my targeting remain comfortably at Columbia University. Presidents Shafiq Armstrong and Dean Yarimilo laid the groundwork for the U.S. government to target me by arbitrarily disciplining pro-Palestinian activists and allowing viral doxing based on racism and disinformation to go unchecked. Columbia targeted me for my activism, creating a new authoritarian disciplinary office to bypass due process and silence students criticizing Israel. Columbia surrendered to federal pressure by disclosing student records to Congress and yielding to the Trump administration's latest threats. My arrest, the expulsion or suspension of at least 22 Columbia students, some stripped of their BA degrees just weeks before graduation, and the expulsion of student worker union president Grand Minor on the eve of contract negotiations are clear examples. If anything, my detention is a testament to the strength of the student movement in shifting public opinion towards Palestinian liberation. Students have long been at the forefront of change, leading the charge against the Vietnam War, standing on the front lines of the civil rights movement, and driving the struggle against apartheid in South Africa. Today, too, even if the public has yet to fully grasp it, it is students who steer us towards truth and justice. The Trump administration is targeting me as part of a broader strategy to suppress dissent. Visa holders, green card carriers, and citizens alike will all be targeted for their political beliefs. In the weeks ahead, students, advocates, elected officials must unite to defend the right to protest for Palestine. At stake are not just our voices, but the fundamental civil liberties of all. Knowing fully that this moment transcends my individual circumstances, I hope nonetheless to be free to witness the birth of my firstborn child, Mahmoud Khalil. We all know that the suppression of political dissent and this McCarthyite campaign to repress activists is designed to get us to shut up, to create a chilling effect, to make us go away out of fear that we will be targeted as well. And the only answer to this is to be louder.
That's right.
The only answer to this is to double down and to sacrifice for Palestine. We have to look to the strength of the Palestinian people who have been experiencing this for 78 years. We have to look to the strength of prisoners in Palestine, for whom this kind of repression occurs tenfold and has been going on for decades. Our members in Students for Justice in Palestine a month ago spoke with student activists in the West Bank. These are students just like me and you, who go to classes, who want to receive an education, to earn a better future, and who do the same thing as we do. Organize for their rights, organize protests, get together and fight back against injustice. And for doing the same things as we do, they face kidnapping, torture, humiliation, beatings, imprisonment, and murder. And yet, they do not stop. And I remember one brave student activist said to me that the students, when we protest in America, inspire them. Imagine that. Imagine a world where we are the ones positioned to stand up and inspire them instead of the other way around. and we must do it anyway. And I remember the students said to me, we are inspired when American students stand up for one simple reason, because all of you can go about your everyday lives. You can keep your heads down. You can go to your classes. You can get a 9-to-5 job at a corporate office somewhere. You can earn money. You can move to the suburbs. And you can ignore the atrocities that are committed on top of your existence. You can ignore the blood that is paid for your comfortable existence. And in Palestine, the students do not have an option to fight back. But for us, it is a conscious choice. And when we do it anyway, we have the power to change things. And when we think about this idea that we can keep our heads down, that we can let ourselves stay fearful and not fight back, and we can just live in blissful ignorance and earn our money and go to our classes and not risk anything for the betterment of humanity, I want you all to look at the videos of children whose lives were taken from them. Look at them in their lifeless eyes and ask yourself, can you live with that? Can we live with that? No! And with that, I want to now introduce Sylvia from Young Democratic Socialists and a member of Student Workers at UVM.
Hello, my name is Sylvia. I'm a proud member of the Young Democratic Socialists of America and the UVM Student Workers Union. I'm here today because I believe that when we organize, we win. The forces of repression that we oppose abroad are the same ones we face right here on our campuses. We all have the same enemy, from the targeting of student activists to the surveillance and intimidation of international students. We see the same systems of violence that fuels war and occupation extending their reach into our schools. With university administrators investing in weapons manufacturers and military contractors, their priorities are clear. Complicity in war and occupation over accountability to their students. And when campus administrators collaborate with ICE to surveil and intimidate students, it's another reminder that these institutions are not serving us. They are perpetuating the same systems of exploitation and control that we are actively fighting against. But we are not powerless. Every time we organize, we chip away at their power. We've seen it before. Workers on this campus have fought and won better wages, safer working conditions, and protections against retaliation. And when students come together to demand the divestment and stand in solidarity with Palestine, we show that our resistance, our action, our power is stronger than their repression. That's why it's so important that we keep organizing. Unionizing isn't just about contracts and paychecks. It's about building collective power to challenge the institutions that profit from war and exploitation. It's about protecting each other, defending our right to dissent, and standing up for what's right. If you're a student worker, this is your fight too. The most powerful thing we can do right now is grow our union. Every card signed is the declaration that we won't back down.
That's right.
Every new member strengthens our ability to demand justice on our campuses, in our workplaces, and in our communities. So I'm asking you, if you're a student worker, sign a union card. Join the UVM Student Workers Union, because when we organize, we protect each other. When we organize, we build power. And when we organize, we win. Free Mahmoud, Khalil, hands off our students, ICE off our campuses, solidarity forever. Thank you.
And we have to say it again and again, if you are not organized, you are powerless. And when we organize, we have all the power. And when we fight, we win. When we fight,
we win.
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 And we have to understand that University of Vermont is not some isolated oasis from the national developments. It is not clean, its hands are not clean from the capitulation that universities have been ceding to the far right all across this country. And in fact, for months now, people across campus have been going to the university administration and asking, pleading with them to take proactive measures to defend their students and their community and their workers from the federal administration, from ICE, from fascist repression, and to defend the university itself from the Donald Trump administration. And the university has done little to nothing. And we have to understand that they will continue to do nothing unless we get together and organize and create the pressure from below to force them to act. And with that, I want to introduce Elizabeth from UVM Staff United Palestine Solidarity Caucus.
Today, there is so much I could say. Today, I can speak about the genocide in Gaza. As someone who works in higher education, I can talk about the parallel scholasticide, the destruction of all universities' educational infrastructure, and the murder of professors, students, and staff alike. Today, we are reminded of the request from Palestinian trade unions for global solidarity, that this is a picket line we should not cross.
That's right.
Today, we see the never-ending legacy of the Nakba. And this week, we have seen the ultimate end of the so-called ceasefire that Israel never planned to abide by.
That's right.
Today, Mahmoud Khalil reminds us that we live in a world where our political elites seek to punish and suppress dissent, and where we are all going to become targets of that. Today, all of this is clear. So where do we go from here? Where do we go tomorrow? We get organized. We recognize the responsibility and the duty we have to Palestine and to all of us to stand together and to do the serious, hard, and extensive work of solidarity. To identify that our collective liberation is inextricably intertwined with one another, and take seriously the resilience of Palestinians who have known this like the back of their own hand. To take a stand against the forces of imperialism, the forces of capitalism, and the forces of fascism that have destroyed so much and are seeking to destroy us now. To take seriously the reality of Palestinian liberation today as a microcosm and amalgamation of the crises of this 21st century, whether that be the climate crisis, militarization, reproductive violence, racism, transphobia, and all other forms of injustice across this world. So please, if you are a union member on this campus, get involved with one of the Solidarity Caucuses.
That's right.
There is no one coming to save us, and there is work to be done. Free Mahmoud Khalil, hands off our students, solidarity forever, and free Palestine. Thank you.
And we are all here today to show you that there are ways for you to fight back. There is organizing in every corner of campus. No matter what you do, no matter what your role is, there is no excuse anymore. You have to organize and you have to boycott. We have quarter sheets being passed around in the crowd somewhere in here because we know that on top of the military aid that this country sends to the Zionist project, on top of the bombs and the warplanes and the missiles and the ammunition and the equipment, this country is also complicit in the genocide of Palestinians through the financial landscape of this country and of this world. And we have leverage there. We can use our wallets to fight back against that, and we can organize boycotts of products of companies that are complicit and contribute to this genocide. And that's why we raise the call for boycott, divestment, and sanctions.
That's right.
And that's why we have to fully align ourselves with the BDS National Committee's call to boycott Israeli products, targeted Israeli products. We have a list somewhere here of small list of companies that if we all boycott, we will have power and we can leverage power to shut this down. We can end this. We've been here for about an hour and we still have more speakers, but thank you all for being here because you understand the urgency of the moment we're in. This is what solidarity looks like. So I want to introduce Crystal from Vermont Healthcare Workers for Palestine.
Hello everyone. I don't have anything prepared. This is just going to be kind of off the head, so forgive me for the lack of organization. But like Logan said, you know, it can seem we have a lot of ways that we can fight back. And you've heard over the past hour, you've heard people say over and over, get organized, get involved. And you know, many of us have had the chance to meet great people that are incredibly helpful, have led our organizing journey, connected us, and but for a lot of people it still feels, you know, that's great in concept. I would love to do it, I'd love to get involved, but how? How do I actually do that? And like Logan said, we can choose where we spend our money. We can choose, we can choose whether we do or don't support companies. One fantastic example, a lot of people have boycotted McDonald's. Surprisingly easy to not get a burger and some fries. And everyone I know that has been involved in the movement, a year and a half strong without McDonald's, no change to our lives, but we've made a very clear impression that we're not going to support companies that support the genocidal army of Israel. Now, I'm here with Healthcare Workers for Palestine, and we're launching a campaign today called Generics Without Genocide. Now, I want to tell you exactly what that is, how you can get involved, and set aside any potential anxieties about it. Again, the thought of boycotting seems very difficult in a lot of ways, beyond like, oh, I just won't get this one company, because it's like, if I need this item, where do I go elsewhere? I have to do this research. How do I know it's going to be as effective? And I want to specifically speak to one of the major boycott targets, Teva, an Israeli pharmaceutical company, and I'm going to let that win pass. I want to speak specifically to Teva and how you can switch away from Teva without any risk of changing to price or health. Now, as I mentioned, Teva is an Israeli company that makes generic medication, but they also are the largest generic medication provider in America, and they operate in over 60 countries across the world. Teva has been sued for billions of dollars and has had to pay out hundreds of millions of dollars to America, to companies across America, and settled with multiple states, including the state of New York, for repeatedly violating false claims acts and for creating false generics, as well as there was something with opiates that I can't even remember, but it was in the billions that they marketed and advertised an opiate that, without disclosing the risks of addiction. Clearly, even here in America, without even getting into what they're doing in Israel, this company does not care about the well-being of Americans. But when we get over to Israel, Teva has directly profited off of the genocide of Gazans and the legal occupation of Palestine as a whole, but also of the West Bank. They have done this by having a total monopoly on medication in the Middle East, and they have violated international law by withholding life-saving medication from Gaza during the Gazan genocide that started in 2023, pretended to pause for a second, and has now been ongoing to this day. Now, I spoke with Omar Hamad, who is a Palestinian pharmacist. I've been in touch with him. And in fact, today, we were going to launch this campaign with him sharing the link. He cannot share the link because he, living in Be'er Hanut, was bombed and had to flee. He is actively displaced as Israel resumes its genocidal attacks on Gaza that it never truly intended to stop. So, regardless, I'm going to speak direct. I've shown TIVA is horrible, but you can easily Google TIVA lawsuit, TIVA genocide, TIVA Israel to see their many stances in support of the Israeli army and their many lawsuits they've had in America. But now I want to speak to how you can switch. At Generics Without Genocide, our goal is to encourage you to call your doctor, call your physician, call your pharmacy, and say, I do not want my medication to come from TIVA. Generic medication, for those who don't know, is certified by the FDA to be exactly the same in terms of how you take it, the effect on the body, and this has to be shown in a lab setting as the name brand. Generic medications are a lot cheaper because after the copyright has ran out on the original medication, you can get them, you can make the same thing for much, much less. But there's not just one generic medication. And I say this as someone who works at a pharmacy. We often switch the generic medication for whichever one we have available. You have likely had the generic medication you take switched all the time without knowing. For this reason, we highly encourage people to call their doctor, to call their pharmacy, and say, we do not want our prescriptions filled with TIVA medications. Now, of course, I should mention, well, the effect of the medication will be the exact same. Not all generics have the same binding agents. So, for example, if you had a medication that uses, lactose as a, minor binding agent, and you have a lactose intolerance, obviously you would want to check with the pharmacist. So if you do make this switch, please, of course, check with your pharmacist. But you have the legal right to ask your pharmacist to switch to a different generic, and the pharmacist cannot say no. You have the legal right to ask that your doctor include on the prescription that it is not filled from TIVA, and they do not have the right to not fill the prescription for you and send it to the pharmacy. You also have the right at any time to ask your pharmacist of any potential changes that may come from switching to a different generic. And of course they have to tell you this and cannot refuse to do so. Insurance companies, additionally, in general, there's a few small exceptions, but they, by and large, cannot charge differently for any generic medications. That's why if anyone has used GoodRx, when they bring it to the counter, you don't say, oh, I want this brand, you say, this is the medication. For nearly every medicine that is available in a generic version in America, there's another generic company that is not directly funding the genocide in Gaza, that is not monopolizing access to medicine in the Middle East, that is not denying life-saving medicine to the people of Gaza and to the West Bank. Now I want to finish by saying two things. First, there's a much bigger turnout than we thought there would be today, so we kind of ran out, which is great problem to have, but we accidentally did not print enough flyers. So please, if you're interested, I will read the link to it. It's going to, and so I'll let everyone take out their phones if they'd like to type it in and don't have a copy of the flyer. I'll give 5-10 more seconds for that. Okay, so it is a link tree with links to questions and explaining what we do and scripts that you can use to call your pharmacist and your doctor. It's linktr.ee/generics without genocide. Once again, that's linktr.ee/generics without genocide. Please also follow Omar Hamad on Twitter. He talks a lot about the way that our country and the companies we use continue to support the genocide, the occupation, the theft of land in Palestine and across the world, and we can do our part to stop it. Thank you.
And that is precisely how we fight this. Little things that we can all do collectively in our everyday lives that make a difference. And together it's just one drop of water, but together we are an ocean. So we will say again and again, organize and do not be cowed. Come to our organizing meeting, our general body meeting of Students for Justice in Palestine tonight, 6:30 in Lafayette L 107. And no matter what walk of life you come from on this campus, you have to organize. And for those beyond campus, you have to organize as well. We want to thank everyone from the greater Burlington community and from our community who has shown up in solidarity with our struggle on campus. And with that, we want to introduce our final speaker Vivant from the Party for Socialism and Liberation, a community organization here in Vermont that is in solidarity with us on campus, fighting the university administration and the federal administration.
Y'all hear me okay? People have said it pretty good, I'll keep it short. We were already, always Mahmoud Khalil. From the day we decided that we don't want to live like this. Homeless, 12 hours at the ER, uninsured, refusing to watch as they kill and deport our neighbors. When we first saw injustice and dared to admit it, we became fighters for our own liberation. The difference is that the ruling class now knows that we know it. They kidnapped Mahmoud in a manner more outrageous even than they did the LA-8. To send us a message, yes, to teach us what happens when you decry genocide, when you peel away their mask and do the crime of simply speaking what is plainly happening. To keep the working class and us immigrants who are privileged above the status of undocumented, compliant and terrified, distracted at the prospect of our own safety. To keep all poor people precarious and divorced from their own political existence. All those things, yes, but also to test our response. To find out, when they resumed the genocide in full force, if our students would hide away in fear, knowing full well that their universities allied with Zionism would sell their rights, criminalize them, when their real criminals are the leaders of Israel and the US ruling class war machine. Mahmoud is in jail, while Netanyahu, the fugitive, wanted by the ICC, who along with the ruling class of our country have killed 18,000 Palestinian children in record time. So how can I blame students of the world, workers of the world, the poor, discarded, deported, and disappeared, for retreating when the billionaire class flexes just how willing they are to break all of the rules? I don't really have to. Because with every kidnapping of innocent students, each bombing of a city crying for relief, the US tears away their own legitimacy and reminds us that we are never returning to a world before October 7th. Quite simply, it is impossible to reverse the destruction that they have wrought. There is no bringing our children back to life. But moreover, it is impossible to unknow what you have seen. What Palestine has always shown us, the lies of the ruling class, their weakness and fear, forced to resort to the most barbaric shows of force and half-hearted justifications. They're not trying anymore. Their logic of capitalism, constantly expanding exploitation of our bodies, our labor, using it to fuel ever-expanding still war and devastation until we have burned this world to nothing. Palestine is our teacher, and it tells us that there is only one solution: intifada, revolution. There is only one solution. There is only one solution. There is no retreating into our social groups, only isolation and the path to your own doom. And there is no advancement, pretending we can reform our way into a friendlier empire any longer. Not after what we have let the ruling class do on our watch. There is only bringing us all into lockstep with the Palestinian resistance, the worldwide class struggle against the war-hungry billionaires. If you are ready for that fight to shut their system down and build our own, starting from our dock workers striking, which, by the way, this time, we're going to stand with them, and that strike is going to block all arms coming out of the U.S. Be on the lookout for the dock workers strike. If you are ready to shut it down for Palestine, if you are ready to shed our tax dollars, our colonial privileges of safety, then you are a revolutionary. Congratulations. And I have your marching orders. It's a few quick, simple questions. Yes or no? Are our rights privileges gifted by the ruling class to be confiscated when it is strategic for them to cut us down? No! No. Our rights to free speech are not granted by the ruling class in the first place, because it's not theirs to grant. It is granted by the power of the people, because they're trying to steal Mahmoud away from the public eye, from legal representation, to take away our free speech, and yet we're still speaking right now, freely. We're not going to shut up, because the more of us that come here, the more of us will stand up. The more your mother will stand up, your grandmother, your friend who's on the fence, and the louder we're going to get. So are we confused? No! As they mass deport our Venezuelan and Salvadoran comrades, they say they are high-profile gang members. And as they drop bombs on children in Gaza, they tell us Hamas was actually the one secretly planning to break the ceasefire. That's why they had to kill another 300 children that day. Are we convinced? No! Because we are not confused. Are we afraid? No! Because Palestine brought the labor movement back to life last year. And the labor movement will stand for Palestine. And without our labor, the billionaires have nothing. They have nothing on us. Are we tired? sleeping? No! No, but we have been. And while we had our eyes closed, they built an empire with a mastery of counter-surveillance and reliant on us getting addicted to the banality of genocide. Don't simply consume. Don't despair. Don't come up with your own personal security strategies alone. You will stay awake by seeking the knowledge and principled fighting organizations that will teach each other how to keep ourselves safe, how to understand their plans of attack, and how to make the shift in our skills grown in these non-revolutionary times to the collective strategy our organizations will unify in to topple this empire in these revolutionary times. Last couple questions. Are we going to let the Trump administration, alongside Zionist academia who opened their arms to him, get away with kidnapping Mahmoud? No! Are we going to let the U.S. get away with handing Israel the bombs they are murdering with? No! Are we united? Yes! Are we ready to get organized? Yes! Are we awake? Yes! Prove it! When immigrant rights are under attack, what do we do? Stand up! When Palestine is under attack, what do we do? Stand up! When all of us are under attack, what do we do? Stand up! Fight back! 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 Let's get fucking organized!
As we've been rallying today, we just got word that Trump is moving to abolish the Department of Education. And we don't know what this will bring, but we know that this proves our point, what we've been saying, that we are under attack. All of us are under attack. And Mahmoud Khalil's arrest is the tip of the iceberg. And at this moment, when we're under attack, we cannot be fearful. I want to send you away today with the words of Fred Hampton, organizer, chairman of the Black Panther Party, who was murdered by police at age 21 as he slept in his bed next to his pregnant wife for the simple crime of organizing his people. He said that you have to understand the people have to pay a price for peace. And if you dare to struggle, you dare to win. And if you don't dare to struggle, then damn it, you do not deserve to win. Let me say peace to you if you're willing to fight for it. Come to our general body meeting, join your union, join your Palestine Solidarity Caucus. Do not stop fighting, do not be afraid, fight back. Fight back! Thank you all, solidarity.
Hi, I'm here at the Palestine Solidarity Rally at UVM campus. I'm here because the Palestinian people are being murdered by Israel and have been for 70 years. And they've also been resisting and fighting back. And I think, we need to do our part and fight back against our own government that is occupying these lands and supporting the Israeli occupation. And it's been going on for too long, and yeah, I cannot just tolerate it anymore and live my normal life, and no one should, and they should show up, talk to the people they know, their neighbors, and start organizing in the way they can, at work, anywhere, basically. Because it's serious, and it can't keep going on, and that's it.
My name is Hannah. I'm a student at UVM. I'm here today to support the Palestine movement and support my own community. I think it's really important because I stand at from a really big place of privilege, and I think it's important to use my voice and to contribute to the overall movement and support people who don't have as much of a voice and a point of privilege as I do. I think it's really important for other members of my community to stand up in solidarity and support immigrants and support the minorities in America right now who are suffering because of the United States and because of our decision and because of who we vote for.
I'm Sam Diliberti. I'm a student at UVM, and I'm a member of the Party for Socialism and Liberation. I'm here because, for a lot of reasons actually. I believe, first and foremost, that this attack on Mahmoud Khalil is an attack on all students. It's an attack on the First Amendment. It's an attack on our right to express ourselves, our right to have opinions, and our right to fight for what we believe in. And domestically, I think that's one of the most important causes that we can struggle for. But beyond that, we just watched Israel shatter the ceasefire that it truly never intended to abide by. And I think it's more crucial than ever that we stand here in solidarity with Palestinians and the people abroad and even at home that are affected by the ever-hungry imperial war machine that is the U.S. Students throughout history have been at the forefront of fighting against war and imperialism. You can look at demonstrations against the Vietnam War that turned the cultural tide against war and in favor of peace. And there's endless examples of students fighting against injustice, from students in South Africa fighting against apartheid to students here in the U.S. fighting for civil rights in the 60s and the 70s and far beyond. So fighting for the people of Palestine, fighting for the right of students and others to organize, to speak our minds, and to have opinions, have political beliefs. That's why I'm here today.
Well, my name's David, and I was on my way to the library actually because I have some writing to do, and I saw the demonstration, and I stopped by, and I think there are very real concerns about our individual freedom right now. I don't think the Trump administration's motives are very good. That's putting it kindly. I think they have real interest in cracking down on free speech, on the freedom of the press. And I think that there is severe cause for concern, and the arrest of Mahmoud Khalil, no matter what one thinks of him personally, it's frankly irrelevant. The administration is not following any measure of legality, and I think it's outrageous, and it's appalling that this is happening. And it's not historically unprecedented. We live in a country where this kind of authoritarianism is not totally new, but it's frightening. And the Trump administration has really shown a real turn towards rank authoritarianism, and certainly the pro-Palestinian movement will be a target of that. And I think we should be very concerned because they won't stop there. Where it starts here, it continues. Who knows? Maybe even Town Meeting TV could become a victim. Local news media may yet become swept up in a crackdown on free expression. No one is safe, and certainly not Burlington. So I guess I'm here to support free speech and to oppose the Trump administration, which is seeking to transform this country, and not in a good way, in a very bad way. And it starts with, eliminating our freedoms. And again, no matter what you think of Mahmoud Khalil personally, and personally, I'm very much appalled by what's happening in Gaza. But no matter what one thinks about him personally, it will not stop there. And there's no legality here. He has rights that have been abrogated. And it won't stop there. It will continue. And that is very frightening. For me personally, as a student, as an organizer, as a politically conscious person, but also as a citizen. And I think it's important for folks to not be intimidated, because intimidation is exactly what they're looking for compliance, and so they can continue to do what they want. If people speak up, that does have power, and we do have power, and we can't forget that.
Just stopping real quick in case it wasn't caught in the broadcast to reintroduce the campaign that Healthcare Workers for Palestine is launching. It's called Generics Without Genocide, and what we're doing is we're encouraging people to switch away from Teva to one of the many other generic medication manufacturers, and source their medication from a generic manufacturer that isn't supporting the genocide and occupation in Gaza and the West Bank. And if you want to learn more, we have a pretty long link tree. I'll read it out. We got to shorten it, but it is linktr.ee. So that's Linktree with a dot before the two E's / generics without genocide.
Once again, that's Generics Without Genocide. Yeah, get involved. We've got like scripts there for you to call your doctor, FAQs about any potential questions you have about will there be a change in price, like will there be a health risk, and yeah, one of the many small steps we can take to start making a really big change.
All right, my name's Ashley Smith. I'm part of the Vermont Coalition for Palestinian Liberation, and I'm also a member of the Tempest Collective. And we were out here today to protest Israel's recommencement of the genocide in Palestine, and also to free Mahmoud Khalil, who is a political prisoner abducted for fighting for the liberation of Palestine, exercising his First Amendment rights to speech, assembly, and protest. And for that, he was abducted, thrown into a jail in Louisiana, and luckily he's been brought back to New Jersey, but he's still detained for the crime, quote unquote, of fighting for his people's liberation. And I think we were also here today to defend public education, higher education in particular, from the attack that the Trump administration has launched. And I think we have to understand the relationship between the attack on Palestine and the attack on all higher education, because they think that Palestine is the weak link, that people won't on campuses rally to the defense of Palestine, so that the Trump administration can use it as a wedge issue to divide and conquer the opposition on university campuses and carry through war on higher education. We've already seen it at Columbia. They've cut $400 million from Columbia's budget to force them to capitulate and censor Palestinian students and restrict the right of students and workers and faculty to organize. That is coming to the University of Vermont. It's coming to every campus across the country. So if you think about what we have lined up this spring, we have an ascending set of demonstrations, beginning with Land Day here on March 30th in Burlington, and then on April 17th, a national day of action in defense of higher education. And then most importantly, at the end of, on the 1st of May, we're going to call a massive demonstration in support of Palestine, migrant rights, and workers' rights all across this country, so that we can begin to exercise our class power against the Trump administration, because that's the only thing that he will listen to. He won't listen to courts, politicians, lobbying, anything. He's only going to listen to the exercising of class power, workers protesting, striking, demonstrating, shutting down business as usual to defend our rights and liberties and democracy in this country, and then start a much bigger fight for a world that puts people before profit.